Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad, in a nutshell, is a team comprised of villains who go on dangerous missions in exchange for reduced prison sentences. As the name implies, there have been quite a few casualties on the team roster over the years since the squad debuted in 1987, and just for fun, let's go through some of them, shall we? Before we get started, let's get some ground rules going. Number one, we're only counting the modern incarnation of the Suicide Squad that started in 1987, not the original team from 1959. We're also only doing deaths from the comics, not any movies or TV shows. Number two, because of the nature of comics, some of these deaths aren't permanent. Characters return from the grave and universes get rebooted regularly. We'll just be counting deaths that were permanent or stand out as particularly funny/interesting. It's 100% arbitrary, and we'll absolutely skip over some characters who are simply presumed dead, so feel free to yell at us in the comments. Lastly, this video is only a fraction of all the deaths that have occurred in the Suicide Squad over the years. For the rest of them, make sure you check out the video that Mr. Sunday Movies did over on his channel. You know, after this one, we still have a lot of deaths to get through first. The very first person to die on the Suicide Squad was in Legends number 3, the first appearance of the modern Suicide Squad. It was the character Blockbuster, who was basically just an off-brand Hulk. Blockbuster was crushed by a fiery demon named Brimstone, not unlike the real-world Blockbuster, which was crushed by a red giant. Jokes? The next death was Mind Boggler, who died in the second issue of Suicide Squad. This death would prove what a jerk Captain Boomerang was. One issue earlier, Mind Boggler used her power of casting illusions to embarrass Captain Boomerang in front of the whole squad. On their next mission against the villainous group known as the Jihad, who we'll see pop up again and again during this video, their leader, Rustam, was sneaking up behind Mind Boggler to shoot her. Captain Boomerang saw it coming, yet did nothing to stop it as payback for his earlier humiliation. Rustam shot and killed Mind Boggler on the spot. This would not be the last member of the Suicide Squad he'd kill, nor the last member of the squad that Captain Boomerang would unhelpfully leave to die. What a jerk. Here he is with a pie in his face. Karen Grace has the honor of being the first actual suicide on the Suicide Squad, if you can call that an honor. Unlike most of the team, she wasn't a villain. She was a government agent who joined the team as their medic due to her relationship with Rick Flag, the leader of the Suicide Squad. The story of her death is nothing short of a soap opera plot. The squad was sent on a mission to deliver a bomb right to the center of a temple of manhunters, who were androids that were created to be an intergalactic police force before the Green Lanterns, and if you're already lost, I promise you, it only gets worse. Karen was revealed to be a double agent working for the Manhunters. She fell in love with a man named Mark Shaw, who convinced her to infiltrate the squad and foil their mission. Except that it wasn't the real Mark Shaw, it was actually an android. Feeling betrayed, Karen decides to get back at the Manhunters for deceiving her and toying with her emotions by driving the bomb into the temple herself and blowing up with it. Now let's talk about Slipknot, the first character on this list who appears in the Suicide Squad movie. One of the ways that the members of the squad are controlled is with explosive devices. In more modern incarnations, small explosives are planted in each member's neck, but originally it was an explosive bracelet worn on the wrist. If they got too far away from the team's leader, Rick Flag, the bracelet would detonate. So in that same issue that Karen Grace died, Slipknot decided to call this bluff, believing the explosive bracelet to be fake. He was wrong, and he blew off his arm like an idiot. And when your whole power is tying knots, you're even more useless when you have one less hand. I should note that he didn't actually die here. No, he's just dumb. In 1988, the Suicide Squad crossed over with another DC team, Doom Patrol, to save the hero Hawk from captivity while also fighting a Russian military unit called the Rocket Red Brigade. In this one comic book, we saw 4 members of the squad bite the dust. The first one to die is Thinker, a Golden Age Flash villain who wears a thinking cap that grants the wearer the power of telekinesis and mind control. He was just brutally murdered by his fellow squad member Weasel for basically no reason. Afterwards, Rick Flag figured, there's no use leaving this powerful thinking cap lying around, so he decided to give it a go. Little did he know that Thinker's dying thought was programmed into the helmet, and the next time Rick laid eyes on Weasel, the helmet blasted some psychic energy and killed the beast. In between those two deaths that bookend the comic book, we also saw the killing of Mr. 104.
he was a villain with the power of turning himself into any of the then 104 discovered elements. I guess he was originally Mr. 103, but then Rutherfordium was discovered a few years after his creation, so I guess he had to change it. It sounds exhausting, really. Okay, he would have to change his name over a dozen more times since then. Either way, he was disintegrated by a rocket red or something. Pretty much the same thing happens with another squad member named Scythe in that same issue. It was just a merciless crossover. Next up in Suicide Squad number 25, we have the death of one Vanessa Kingsbury, aka Shrike. The squad was on a mission to rescue a nun who was being held as a political prisoner, which sounds simple enough, except that Shrike was completely riddled with the enemy's bullets as Captain Boomerang once again just unhelpfully stood by, staring like a jerk. A few issues later, the team's pilot Briscoe would also meet his untimely demise. He would shuttle the squad around on missions in his helicopter he named Sheba after his late daughter. Both of them were torn apart by parademons on a mission to Apocalypse. So sad. On that same mission, Dr. Light was tricked by the ghost of his former partner Jacob Finlay to start acting like a hero instead of a villain, which I know sounds bizarre, but I guarantee you it's not even close to the strangest thing you're gonna hear in this video. When Dr. Light decided to rush into battle against the parademons, he was almost immediately killed. Finlay just wanted revenge, but the joke was on both of them since they're stuck in hell afterwards. Dr. Light returned in later stories, but I just thought this was too funny not to mention. Here he is with a pie in his face. Ravon was a member of the Jihad, which you'll recall was the terrorist group that the squad faced up against in their first issue. I'd say he changed in his ways, but the fact that anyone is on the Suicide Squad means they're pretty much just the worst. On a mission to stop a supervillain named Cobra, Ravon was poisoned by Cobra's staff. He still managed to defeat the villain, but the poison overwhelmed him, and he died. During the War of the Gods miniseries that celebrated Wonder Woman's 50th anniversary, the Suicide Squad's roster grew as they prepped to go on a mission to the Amazon. While there, we saw 3 members eat it, in no particular order. We have Karma, with the powers similar to Black Cat, able to give his enemies bad luck. His own luck ran out on the mission when he encountered an Amazon with a machine gun. Enforcer was another character who died on an island. Her high-tech battle armor was apparently no match for a common spear. But the last squad member to die, in my opinion, is the best and requires a little bit of background. During his run on Animal Man, writer Grant Morrison put himself into the story for some incredibly meta moments. I made a video about it a couple of years back, but the point is that now the very real Grant Morrison was a DC Comics character who could appear in other stories, or at the very least, die in other stories. Morrison joined the squad for their mission to Amazon and actually died because he had writer's block and couldn't think of any clever way to write himself out of danger. Good stuff. In Suicide Squad number 61, we saw the death of the Atom, but not the one you're probably thinking of. It's again a very comic book plot of Ray Palmer infiltrating a group of micro assassins while having someone fill in for him as the Atom, and that replacement was Adam Cray, spelled Adam, not Adam. It's confusing. Let's get past it. Adam Cray was stabbed by a member of the Microforce named Black Snake, and Ray Palmer avenged his death and blah 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 comic book stuff. A few years later, the squad popped up in Superboy number 14, where their mission was compromised by one of their own. Remember that how the squad works is they promise reduced prison sentences for those who agree to go on missions. However, one member found a loophole he thought he could exploit. A member of the team named Sidearm realized that nowhere did it say that the mission needed to be successful for him to be granted amnesty. So he purposefully botched the mission in hopes it would be called off and he could go home. However, another squad member named King Shark wasn't having any of that nonsense and just murders Sidearm on the spot so they can get back to the mission. I love this guy. He gets the job done. Now we can move on to all the deaths in the early 2000s, starting with Suicide Squad Volume 2. The first casualty is a not too bright muscle man named Big Sur. He died on the new team's very first mission. A failed cloning process led to an enormous sentient fleshy mass which had the ability to make organic bombs in the shapes of children. See, I told you you'd hear crazier things today. Why? Because comics. TM. Either way, one of these children exploded in Big Sur's face. Moving on that same mission, we also saw the somewhat classic villain King Clock get shot up by a bunch of hired thugs. Same with Cluemaster and Multi-Man. But unlike those last two who eventually returned, King Clock and Big Sur were just is real dead. The squad would get a whole new roster 2 issues later, comprised of ice villain Killer Frost and a handful of new villains who were created specifically for the purpose of being killed off immediately. An army of genetically engineered super ants, yes, super ants, got loose, so the squad was sent to stop them. Every single member of the team, Bolt, Putty, Eliza, and Larvanaut, were each either eaten alive by the deadly ants or blown up in a massive explosion that the ants had set off. The only surviving member was Killer Frost. Later in this series, Rustam returns. You remember him, he was the leader of the Jihad, one of the 2 people responsible for killing Mind Boggler. Looking at you, Captain Boomerang. Only this is actually a different Rustam who appears to want revenge for what the Suicide Squad did to the original Jihad team. One member of Rustam's crew named Digital Jin attacked and killed the squad's resident computer genius, Modem, through the internet somehow. Not gonna question it, weirder things have happened. Remember the exploding kids? Yeah, that's pretty fun. The new Rustam went and killed a woman named Havana. She worked on a more behind-the-scenes aspect of the Suicide Squad as a strategist of sorts, but almost immediately after her death, Deadshot came in and murdered Rustam with 1,000 bullets to his body. I probably don't need to mention these last few, but Mirror Master led the squad on an op that went almost immediately south. One of the squad's own members, the Tattooed Man, betrayed the team, leading to the death of a jester-like villain named Punch, who has been on the team since nearly the beginning. In retaliation, Mirror Master turned the Tattooed Man into glass, and Punch's wife, another squad member named Julie, smashed that traitor into a million pieces. I should also note that this version of the team wasn't really an official Suicide Squad, but rather a rogue team made up of villains who were previously on the Suicide Squad. Their goal was essentially to piss off Amanda Waller, the woman who historically has been in charge of Task Force X. Here she is with a pie in her face.
And I think that's gonna do it for this video, guys. As I said at the top, there's plenty more deaths to go through, so head on over to Mr. Sunday Movies channel where he'll be tackling the rest of them, including the ones from the New 52. I'll have that linked in the description below and at the end of this video. And hey, since we split this up into 2 parts, each one of us can blame the other person for deaths that may have gone overlooked, or you can just leave it in the comments down below. Which Suicide Squad death stands out the most to you, either as the weirdest or funniest or most meaningful? Let's talk about it all down there. And if you want to learn more about how Harley Quinn was created, check out this video we made that answers exactly that question and nothing else. But really, you should just watch Mr. Sunday's video right here. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that big sexy subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the new videos we make for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that explore the history, science, art, and philosophy behind your favorite comic book superheroes. My name is Scott, reminding you to read between the panels and grow smarter through comics. See ya.